explore. In this session, we will learn more advanced training in digital product passport and demonstrate how Comply Markets AI-powered tools help organizations navigate complex compliance landscape across global markets. Let's begin by introducing today's presenters. Joining us is Dr. Muhammad Qasim, Head of Consulting and IT at Comply Market. Alongside him is Mr. Robert Holt, Senior Product Compliance Consultant. Comply Market serves a wide range of industries, each with its own regulatory challenges. Our mission is to simplify compliance for every market and every product category, from aviation, automotive, healthcare, and electronics, to energy, chemicals, and consumer products. Comply Market provides tailored compliance solutions. We also support the highly regulated fields, such as oil and gas, mining, and the public sector, helping organizations meet local and international standards efficiently. Our expertise extended beyond consultancy. We provide software-driven compliance solutions covering every stage of your product lifecycle. These include tools for product and material compliance management, sustainability reporting, packaging compliance, authorized representation, and global market access. We also offer modules for digital product passport and extended producer responsibility, all integrated under one intelligent platform. One of our most impactful solutions is the Comply Market Product Compliance Requirements module, a digital tool that helps you instantly identify product compliance obligations worldwide. This AI-driven system saves the team significant time and resources across jurisdictions. This module delivers AI-generated compliance reports for both electrical and non-electrical products, as well as packaging materials. Whether you are dealing with consumer electronics, medical devices, or packaging labeling, Comply Market identifies the right regulations and standards in any country and language within minutes. The process couldn't be simpler. Just fill in a few fields, article name, description type, country, and the preferred language. Then click Get Your Report Now. Our system generates a full compliance report specific to your product and the target market, making compliance research seamless and efficient. Moving on, we will now look at the Comply Market Product Sustainability and Material Compliance Management module, which also integrates the digital product passport. This module centralizes everything related to product material compliance, sustainability reporting, packaging battery, extended producer responsibility, and supply chain due diligence, all in one place. Here you can see our unified reporting dashboard, which covers all major compliance areas. Users can generate reports for ROS, REACH, PFAS, conflict minerals, deforestation regulations, and many others. The system also includes AI-based automatic checks, supplier risk matrices, and a compliance statement, ensuring your documentation is always audit ready. And finally, this is the bill of materials management interface. Within the same platform, it enables users to manage products, components, materials, and substances in one integrated view. It enables your team to track every material across the supply chain from the product level down to individual substances. This tool supports traceability, supplier coordinations, and digital product passport readiness. Please contact us for your demo after the webinar. Now I can hand over things to Mr. Robert.
Thank you very much, and good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. Let's begin our advanced training on the Digital Product Passport, often abbreviated as DPP or the DPP. To start, let's understand what a digital product passport actually is and why it's becoming such a central topic in sustainability and compliance discussions across Europe. The digital product passport is part of the European Union's broader strategy to build a circular economy. That means moving away from the old take, make, dispose model and towards a system where products, materials, and components are kept in use for as long as possible. To achieve this, we need data transparency. Every actor along the supply chain, from manufacturers, importers, to recyclers and consumers, need reliable, standardized information about a product's materials, performance, and environmental footprint. That's where the digital product passport comes in. Think of it as a digital identity card for a product, containing structured data that travels with it throughout the entire life cycle. The digital product passport and the eco design for sustainable products regulation. Now that we know what the digital product passport is conceptually, let's connect it to its legal foundation, the eco design for sustainable products regulation, or ESPR, or the ESPR. This regulation is the core legal framework for the digital product passport. You can think of ESPR as the umbrella law that defines what sustainability data companies must collect and how they must share it across the product's life cycle. So how does this work in practice? Well, the ESPR sets rules that apply to nearly all physical goods to be sold in the European Union, not just electronics or textiles, but also furniture, batteries, construction products, and more. The key principle is that every product should be designed with sustainability, durability, and circularity in mind.
Robert,
And
if you
here,
would like to allow me, I would like to add something small. Also, the DPP is consisting of three main categories: DPP system, the IT infrastructure, and that's the easiest part of the DPP because it is an IT system. Either you build it or you buy it. At the end, it is just an IT system. But the hardest part of the DPP is collecting data. To collect such amount of data and to achieve such amount of traceability, you need many years of hard working. And that's why I always say don't wait until the law will be finalized. They will not give you the correct timing. They will think that 18 months is enough, but actually, yes, 18 months we can build the IT system. But what about collecting data? Such high level of traceability and amount of data and product properties, you can never do it in 18 months. That's really minimum 3 years, if not 5 years, maybe more. And that's something I wanted just to clarify before you go further. Sorry for interruption, but I just wanted to clarify this point.
no, I appreciate that. If you go back to the last slide, um, so the digital product passport is a service. There are third-party providers out there that can collect your data, but really it's more about the system, right? Um, the system is important, but the real point is the data space. If your company has not started already, you're already behind, and I mean that you're really behind. So the most important part of this slide here is 2.3, the data space.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, this regulation, um, acts as the digital backbone, or this legislative framework acts as the backbone of the regulation. Why? Because it collects, structures, and shares all relevant sustainability and compliance information, not only for regulators, but also for consumers, which is why CE marking was initiated in the first place, was for the benefit of the European consumers. But now it's expanded to also be for recyclers and downstream users. Let's look at the timeline. The ESPR and the Digital Product Passport are being rolled out in stages. We are currently in the preparation and early implementation phase. From 2024 onward, delegated acts will begin to define product-specific digital product passport requirements. For example, there will be a delegated act for batteries, one for textiles, one for electronics, construction equipment, etc., and so on.
Yeah,
Each
what
of these will go ahead.
just a small comment. What we see here is where we know exactly the deadline. It was confirmed, but some um, delegated acts under preparation, and they may surprise us at any moment with a new deadline. I heard some rumors that electronics are going also to be in 27, but I think it is not written here but because it is still rumors, but they may surprise us. That's very possible. And they are keeping a circle of deadlines. They are trying to cover a big range or a wide range of products by end of 2030. I just wanted to add this table.
It is that's very important. The whole new framework since the Market Surveillance Regulation 2019/1020 has allowed for this fluid framework, this European regulatory framework, and with the delegated acts, surprises can pop up when you least expect it. So, going back to what I was saying earlier about 2.3, the data space, it's imperative to get started as early as possible. So when a surprise comes up, you're ready and not having to scramble. But think of this timeline as similar to how REACH or ROS regulations evolved. First, the framework, then the detailed rules for each sector. Ultimately, the goal of the digital product passport is traceability and transparency. The goal would be, let's say, there's a consumer who would like to buy a washing machine in 2028. They'll be able to scan a QR code or a digital link, and they can instantly see where it was manufactured, what materials the washing machine contains, how energy efficient it is, how to repair or recycle it, and even its carbon footprint. For regulators, that same data ensures that environmental claims can be verified, helping to prevent greenwashing and enforce compliance more effectively. This part of your training is where we move from the conceptual foundation of the digital product passport to the specific data categories that must be included. Essentially, what kind of information manufacturers and economic operators will have to collect, maintain, and share digitally. Let's go through this in a full classroom type style. So this is defined under the ESPR. It lays out what data categories and attributes will be mandatory for inclusion in the digital product passport. Each of these attributes ensures that every stage of a product's life, from design and production to use and recycling, is traceable, transparent, and verifiable. The requirements are structured into 5 main groups: identification and contact information, product and operational information, product lifetime and sustainability information, material and substance information, and finally, environmental impact and efficiency. Let's explore each group in detail, discussing not just what needs to be recorded, but why it matters and how it supports circularity and regulatory compliance. We'll start with the foundation identification data. This is the who and the where of the product. In the context of the digital product passport, every product circulating within the common European market must be associated with verifiable information about its economic operators. This includes the manufacturer, the importer, and potentially other actors like assemblers, distributors, depending on the supply chain structure. The digital product passport, the identification section here, must include the name and contact details of the manufacturer or operator established in the European Union. This ensures accountability. Regulators and end users must know who is responsible for compliance and product quality. Next is the UOI, the Unique Operator Identifier. This acts like a digital ID number for each company within the supply chain. Think of it as a VAT or an ERE number. It allows for cross-referencing of operators across EU systems. Next is the importer information. For imported products, data about the importer must be included, especially their EORI number and contact information as required under Article 233 of the ESPR. This guarantees traceability for products entering the EU from outside the market. And finally, facility identifiers. Each manufacturing facility, even within the same company, receives a unique identifier, allowing authorities to trace back not only to the company, but also its specific production site. This level of traceability prevents issues like supply chain opacity, mislabeling, or counterfeit production. If a defect or non-compliance issues arises, the digital product passport allows rapid identification of where and when the problem originated. To make this more relatable, think about the way aircraft parts or pharmaceuticals are tracked today. Every part has a serial number and a production record tied to a certified facility. The digital product passport brings that same level of traceable integrity to every product to be sold in the common European market. Now let's move on to the product's technical and operational data, the what and the how. This section includes all information that defines the product's identity, function, and compliance status. It ensures that anyone handling the product, from customs officers to the end users, the consumers, can understand what it is, how it should be used, and which rules apply to it. Here's what it must include. It must include user's manual, instructions, and safety information. These are already required by EU product-specific directives like the Machinery Directive and other electronics regulations. The digital product passport consolidates them digitally, ensuring that anyone can access them instantly, even long after purchase. Next, it must include compliance documentation. This includes declarations of conformity, technical documentation, test reports, and any relevant conformity certificates. The digital product passport then becomes a single compliance repository, simplifying audits and regulatory checks. Next, it must include commodity codes. Each product should reference the TARIC code or equivalent based on Council Regulation EEC number 2658/87. This ensures consistency across customs and trade databases. Next, it must include a GTIN, the Global Trade Identification Number. This is defined under ISO IEC 15459-6, which provides a standardized, machine-readable product identifier recognized globally. Lastly, it must include a UPI, a unique product identifier. This links all product instances to a master digital record. The exact level, the product, the top level assembly, the component, or batch will be determined by delegated acts, but the concept is that each unit can be digitally referenced, scanned, or tracked. Why? Why is this important? Well, imagine a recall or a safety incident. Without standardized product identifiers, tracing affected units can take weeks or even longer. With a digital product passport, this process becomes instant and data-driven, protecting both consumers and manufacturers. This data also supports after-sales services, repairs, and resale markets, since anyone can verify that the product is genuine and compliant. Moving on to the next section, product lifetime and sustainability information. This section focuses on how long a product lasts, how easily it can be repaired or upgraded, and how efficiently it uses resources. The how sustainable part of the digital product passport. The EU's goal is to move toward longer lasting, repairable, and recyclable products. And this section measures that. The key attributes of this section are durability and reliability data. The digital product passport must specify how long the product is designed to function under normal use conditions. For example, washing machines may need to declare that their expected lifespan in wash cycles. Next, repairability and maintenance information. The passport includes details on how to repair the product, how to access spare parts, and how to perform regular maintenance. This reduces premature disposal and supports repair-based business. It supports the repair-based businesses, a core principle of the circular economy. Next, upgradability, usability, and refurbishability. These terms describe whether components can be replaced or improved over time. For example, upgrading a laptop's battery or reusing a motor assembly. Next, recycling and end-of-life information. Instructions should explain how to safely disassemble the product and which components are recyclable. And lastly, consumer information. Practical guidance for installation, use, and end-of-life disposal must be included to help users minimize environmental impact. As an example, if you were to buy a vacuum cleaner in the EU in, say, 2028, its digital product passport might inform you that the expected lifetime is 7 years, and it may suggest that the motor module should be replaced after 5 years. It would say things like plastic casing is 90% recyclable, or spare parts are available for 10 years post-sale. For consumers, it also helps recyclers plan for material recovery and helps regulators verify compliance with eco-design goals. Moving on to our fourth section, material and substance information. This is one of the most data-intensive sections. It ensures that all materials and substances used in a product are identified and documented. The digital product passport for this section 4 must include names and substances of concern present in the product. For example, lead, cadmium, or PFAS, if above regulatory thresholds. Next, locations of these substances within the product, whether they be solder joints, the coatings, or the batteries. Next, concentration or concentration range of each substance, specified per product, component, or spare part. And lastly, instructions for safe use and disassembly, including necessary protective measures. This is critical for worker safety, recycling efficiency, and regulatory control. By making this data digital, recyclers can quickly know which parts require special treatment or isolation. For example, if an appliance contains a small circuit board with lead solder, the digital product passport ensures recyclers know exactly where that board is located so it can be handled safely. This section, section 4, also supports the EU's upcoming Substances of Concern in Products, or SCIP, database, and aligns with REACH and ROAST requirements, integrating them into one interoperable data framework. Moving on to the last section, section 5, environmental impact and efficiency. This group captures all data about the product's overall environmental performance. This includes energy and resource efficiency metrics. For example, power consumption per use cycle, water efficiency, or material intensity. Next, it needs to include recycled and renewable content, indicating what percentage of materials come from recycled or bio-based sources. Next, carbon and environmental footprints, quantified in equivalent emissions and life cycle environmental impacts. So in terms of CO2 equivalent emissions. Next, waste generation and recyclability potential. What this means is how much waste the product is expected to generate during use and at end of life. Finally, microplastic release, emissions, and pollutants, especially for products that shed fibers or particles, such as textiles or tires. Each of these indicators help stakeholders from policymakers to consumers make evidence-based sustainability decisions. A good example would be if two smartphones are similar in price, but one has a 30% smaller carbon footprint and uses 60% recycled materials, that data revealed through the digital product passport, empowers the consumer to choose responsibly. Moving on to section 322, requirement attributes for batteries. This is one of the most important and complex parts of the digital product passport, and the most important part of the implementation because batteries are at the center of Europe's circular economy and decarbonization strategy. We'll go through this in the same detailed approach as we've been presenting so far, but maybe go into a little deeper detail. Especially because what we've covered under the general attributes required under the Eco Design for Sustainable Products regulation, now we'll focus on a special product category that has its own detailed framework in the digital product passport, which is batteries. Batteries are fundamental to Europe's overall green transition. They power electric vehicles, store renewable energy, and appear in almost every electronic device. However, they present major environmental, social, and supply chain challenges, from raw material extraction to waste management. Because of this, the EU battery regulation, EU 2023/1542, came into force in 2023, and it introduced mandatory digital battery passports. These are essentially specialized digital product passports for batteries designed to improve traceability, safety, sustainability, and circularity. Every industrial, EV, and rechargeable battery above 2 kilowatt hour must have a digital record containing standardized information accessible via QR code or digital link. The data categories for batteries closely mirror those under ESPR, but with additional technical and environmental detail due to the complexity of battery systems. The four main categories are general battery and manufacturer information, compliance labels and certifications, battery materials and composition, circularity and resource efficiency. Let's break each of these four down. General battery and manufacturing information. This is the first section of the four, and it's the foundation of the digital battery passport. This section answers the question, who made this battery and what exactly is it? It includes manufacturer details. Every passport must contain the name, address, and contact information of the manufacturer along with the UOI, a unique operator identifier. This ensures complete traceability across the EU and allows regulators to verify compliance responsibilities. Next, battery identification and model information. Each battery model receives a unique battery model code and serial number. This ensures that when a vehicle or product is serviced, The exact battery type and configuration can be verified. Next, manufacturing facility identifiers. Each factory producing battery cells or modules is assigned a unique facility ID, allowing for precise tracking of production batches. Lastly, date and place of manufacture. These fields help link the battery to specific production runs, which is critical for recalls or performance monitoring. Why does this all matter? Well, imagine a situation where a batch of EV batteries shows early degradation. With proper identifiers and manufacturing data, authorities can instantly trace affected batteries to a specific facility and a production week. Without digital traceability, this kind of analysis could take months and involve costly recalls. So, this section of the digital product passport isn't just administrative, it's about accountability, quality control, and consumer safety. Moving on to the second section, compliance, labels, and certifications. This second section, the data group included, ensures that each battery meets legal, environmental, and safety standards. It must cover conformity documentation and declarations. This includes the EU Declaration of Conformity, certifying that the battery complies with applicable EU directives and regulations. Next, it must include markings and labels. The digital product passport must record all visible and digital markings, such as the CE mark, the waste bin symbol, and any voluntary eco labels. Next, it must include third-party certifications from external bodies. For example, those related to UN 38.3, safety testing, ISO 14001, environmental management, or SA 8000, social accountability. And these should be referenced or linked. Lastly, battery chemistry classification identifies the type of chemistry. For example, lithium ion, nickel metal hydride, solid state, etc. Since regulatory requirements can differ based on the composition. Why does all of this in this section 2 matter? Well, these fields prove that the product is legally compliant and safe to use across all EU member states. It also simplifies market surveillance. Regulators can scan the digital passport and immediately verify compliance without needing to request paper certificates or declarations. This digitization of labeling reduces fraud, speeds up custom checks, and ensures transparency for downstream users and recyclers. Moving on to section 3, battery materials and composition. This is arguably the most technically detailed part of the battery passport. It deals with substances, materials, and chemical compositions of the battery. Because battery rely on critical raw materials such as lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese, and graphite, it's vital to track these materials for supply chain transparency and environmental responsibility. And this section has several subparts. The first, materials. The digital product passport must list all critical raw materials used in the battery, including their chemical names, CAS numbers, and concentration levels above 0.1% by weight. It must also identify the battery chemistry, LFP, NMC811, NCA, and specify which components contain which materials. For example, cobalt in the cathode or graphite in the anode. This information is essential for assessing supply risks, for assessing risk in the supply chain. For example, the dependence on cobalt from a politically unstable region, or enabling recycling and material recovery, allowing recyclers to know exactly what elements to extract and in what proportion. A good analogy here is a recipe. Just like a chef needs to know the ingredients and their quantities, recyclers need a recipe for every battery to recover valuable elements efficiently. Next, substances. This subpart 2, deals with hazardous substances in the battery. It must include their names, hazard classes, and CAS/CLP identifiers, their location within the product, for example, electrolyte, casing, or separator, their concentration range as a percentage, and lastly, their impact on health, safety, or the environment based on REACH and GSH classifications. This ensures that recyclers and dismantlers know how to handle the battery safely and what protective measures are required. For example, certain electrolytes may release toxic gases if exposed to air. Having that data digitally accessible saves time and prevents accidents. Moving on to section 3, carbon, or subsection 3, carbon footprint. Here, the digital product passport includes a quantified carbon footprint of the battery across its life cycle, across the entire life cycle, expressed as kilograms of CO2, equivalent per kilowatt hour. Manufacturers must calculate emissions for each lifestyle stage: raw material extraction, production, distribution, and end of life. It must classify the result into a carbon performance class, A through E. And lastly, it must provide a link to a public summary of the life cycle assessment, or LCA, that supports the calculation. Why does this all matter? Well, battery manufacturing is energy intensive, often dominated by emissions from raw material processing and electrode production. By standardizing how emissions are reported, the EU can compare environmental performance of batteries produced in different regions and reward cleaner manufacturing practices. In other words, carbon data becomes a competitive factor in the green economy. Moving on to subsection 4, supply chain due diligence. This is one of the most socially significant sections. Under this section, manufacturers must include a due diligence report covering raw material sourcing, risk management, and mitigation procedures. Next, it must include evidence of third-party verification or certifications like IRMA, REMI, or OECD, so IRMA, RMI, or OECD aligned standards. Lastly, it must include a summary of the EU taxonomy disclosures and sustainability reporting. The goal to this section is to combat issues like child labor, environmental damage, or conflict financing linked to raw material mining. By requiring this data in the digital product passport, the EU ensures that sustainability is not only about environmental performance, it's also about ethical responsibility. Next, circularity and resource efficiency. This section measures how well the battery fits into the circular economy, its recyclability, reusability, and safe end-of-life handling. It includes safety measures and instructions, such as recommended extinguishing agents and specific safety protocols in case of overheating, short circuits, or damage. It also must include recycled content, the percentage of nickel, cobalt, lithium, and lead sourced from pre-consumer and post-consumer recycling streams. This metric will directly influence eco-labeling and procurement decisions in the near future. Next, it must include renewable material content, the proportion of materials derived from renewable sources, such as bio-based carbon or bioplastics. Next, it must include end-of-life handling, clear guidance on how batteries should be collected, transported, and recycled. This includes collection point information, take-back schemes, and instructions for recyclers. Lastly, it must include the role of end users in waste prevention. For example, encouraging users to return batteries to certified collection centers or extending their life through proper maintenance. This section embodies the circular economy, the principle of closing the loop. By embedding recyclability data and recovery pathways directly into the digital product passport, we can collectively move towards a system where materials are continuously reintroduced into production, reducing dependency on raw material extraction.
Thank you, Robert. That was pretty much. uh, yeah, I see we are evening in Europe, so most of people are now maybe in restaurant or somewhere outside. Yes, but we wanted also to give a chance to our colleagues from US to be able to join. Um, so we're going to share recording anyway with all people who registered. Um, I would like to continue on what you have said. That's one of the most important aspects of digital product passport is accessibility. And who shall see what? We have four different access rights: public access rights and information to persons with legitimate interest in the commission. Uh, Sorry, my slides all gets wrong. And information accessible only to notified body or market surveillance authorities and the commission. Or we have also information accessible to persons with legitimate interest. What does that mean in practice? For example, if the waste management operator would like to know where to find a special substance like gold, let's use a good example, not a bad example like lead, a gold. They would like to know where is exactly gold so they can extract it and ensure a circular economy. But to tell them those information, mostly you are sharing a lot about your production secrets. You cannot allow anyone to know that. Then anyone may copy your products. So only those people with legitimate interest will be able to access this information. How that can be happen? There is another law for which has been also approved, and we are waiting for its implementation, which is digital wallet. We are going in the EU to have, instead of having your normal ID card that you show anywhere, to have a digital wallet with your identification. With this digital wallet in your mobile phone, you can identify yourself. Say, yes, I'm Muhammad, or I'm Robert, or so on. For normal people, the project is almost done, and we have that. We know all about digital signature and so on. They are going to make also a digital wallet for companies. A company can identify itself as, yes, I'm the right company. That's quite new. And that will allow, let's assume, a recycler called Mr. Herman to identify himself that his company is a real company, and then they can access more information in the digital product passport, so they can see confidential information. You may wonder, is it really safe? I would tell you it is exactly the similar system of accessing your bank account. So if there will be a security issue with this system, then anyone is going also to be able to access your bank accounts, because it is the same technologies that you have a certificate, and maybe this 10 number in your mobile phone, and you get a QR code when you try to access your bank account, and then you scan this certificate, and then you approve it from your mobile phone, so you identify yourself, yes, I'm the owner of this bank account, so I can log into my bank account. This is a similar system to have a certificate in your mobile phone, and this certificate will identify you that you are Mr. Herman, who is allowed to access those confidential information. So it is a state of art of technology. If it is going to be hacked, I think everything else is going to be hacked. All our bank accounts are going to be hacked. So the EU is trusting this technology a lot, and they are going to implement it. It's going to be the case of digital product passport and how companies will identify itself. We have I speak now from the technical aspects of digital product passport. Like my colleague Robert has spoken from the scientific aspects of digital product passport. I will speak from the IT technical perspective. That will be more interest to actually your IT guys rather than you as a regulatory person, but it is important that you know something about it. We need a unique identifier, and that's something to be attached with a data carrier. Data carrier can be a QR code, or any other of any data carrier bar barcode. But QR code used to be quite famous, and we have standards for that, like standard how to have a unique identifier and a QR code. A new concept which is very critical in the digital product passport, which is called interoperability. Interoperability is to use a kind of a database that can be understood by all other kinds of databases. Why they want to do that? Because they want to they want to reach a stage, like for example, a piece of clothes, my shirt, for example, at the end of its life shall have a digital product passport, and it will go to a recycler, and then a recycler will identify immediately from the digital product passport are the materials of this shirt, and then they can recycle it again. So maybe the database of the manufacturer is different from the system that the recycler is using. And if the two systems cannot read each other or understand each other's, then the main purpose of digital product passport also will not be achieved, which is 100% circular economy in the long term and zero emission by 2050. That's the EU strategy. And so we need to use kind of a new technology called interoperability. And there is something, a database that everyone agree on it called Graph Knowledge Database. Is a kind of a special database that does contain that is interoperable and can be read by all kinds of or can be understood by other databases. A neutral database, a meaning, a database with the meaning of attributes, a real meaning of them. And we need to have some technical aspects is to have the semantic meaning of attributes, to have a data format that can be read with machines, and we need to achieve that access rights that can be done with using certificates. Um, and data usage control um, who can access to the data, and we need a decentralized data storage. Let me explain that. Like, what does that mean? As those two points together, I can explain to them. They would like to make you responsible for your own data, so you will have your own database. However, there will be a kind of a backup with a certified service provider. Um, just if a company got bankrupted, then this certified service provider will have a backup of your data. And also there will be a central registry from the EU where you can submit your data so customs, for example, may have access to it. So you will be responsible of your own data and then making a backup of it and making a notification of your data to a central registry and updating it. So by this way, they are making not a central point of failure, but they have a kind of a backup and a notification of your data digital product passport to the central registry. And in this central registry, it helps in validation because if they notice that certain company is publishing many wrong or fake digital product passport, that will be a red line that this company is doing something not okay. So probably they are going to investigate further what's wrong with this company, and then they may discover thousands of non-compliant companies or millions of non-compliant products which probably are still able to enter the EU. When that's the results of third-pass project, and this was a consultation project to prepare the law draft to the EU Commission, and they agreed on some aspects. They want to have a system that is flexible, easy to be implemented, and with a low cost. And they agreed on graph knowledge database. And this system, the new technology shall be able to use legacy IT systems and not to reinvent the wheel, which is going to be super expensive. The argument for knowledge graph database, it is a kind of a database that explains the semantic meanings of objects. So it says a subject, predicate, and object. An example, Maria lives in Paris. The sky has color blue. So that's how they are going to store the data. not just using, for example, this is this television. No, that's all the way. The new data will explain what is a television. Or if you have something inside the television like um, PCB, it will say a PCB does have resistors and capacitors and so on. That's a kind how a graph database works. It connects things together and it does have a dictionary. This dictionary will be associated to a database to understand. So when you say um, something like motherboard, so you go to the dictionary of this database to understand what is this database, and you take this meaning and you feed it your machine reading system. That will make full use of the data for recyclability and reaching the EU goals for zero emission in 2050. That's what is new about this knowledge graph database. Um, there are a way how to access it. They think about the easiest way to use HTTP access that you have your unique identifier of the product as part of the HTTP URL, and you can attach that to the QR code, and you when someone will access or read your QR code, they go to this HTTP URL, which is fed with your product identifier, and then a machine can read it, understand what is this product, and then we go to what is inside and understand a complete information about your product as kind of identification. The ontology and metadata, which a new term you will hear it thousands of times when you try to dig further about digital product passport. It is the intended meaning of vocabulary. The challenge here is to make expression and dictionary, so um, to make a normal to clean the data and making a data modeling and explaining the meaning of each data and making them in a way in a knowledge graph that can understand what does everything mean, so we can have the best use of the data. There are some tools to normalize the data. One of which is I would say is quite good. It's called Karma, and this one can use help you to prepare your all the data in a format that's going to be suitable for the digital product passport. So sorry. The purpose is to use the graph database, which is ontology based, to make it able to integrate with different ERP systems or PLM systems. So we have digital product passport with this technology. Then when you integrate it with any system, it shall be suitable because it is a kind of new database that can be read and understood with any system. Interoperable standardization format. We have two access ways. One, which I have just quickly mentioned, that we can access using the HTTP technology, which how we access our current browsers, and that's is the easiest and famous to all of us. And currently, when we develop our digital product passport for compliant market, we are using the HTTP. But also we have a kind of more sophisticated DID access. We have also a unique solution here, but you need to invest more if you want to use DID. What is use DID technology? In a very simple statement, DID technology is a blockchain technology, similar to the technology of Bitcoin. How you store information in the blockchain, how you store validation of the Bitcoin, so information can never be modified because you will always have informations among different nodes worldwide, and this is the ID based. It will guarantee that no one can modify your data. Um, Extreme high level of traceability, high level of security and safety. However, it may cost a little bit more, but we make it available if you want. That's a quick, very simple comparison between HTTP and the DID. Yeah, HTTP, we know it, highly interoperable, easy to implement, but the ID is going to be much better for access rights and identity management. As protocol, how to access HTTPS by using a similar way to you access a website, but the ID is going to another technology, the ID method, UID. I will skip some few slides and go to this slide, which actually we got from Surpass to explain it, how they think about the system, what is the final picture of the system. Sorry, it looks complex, but we will make it easy now. So we have our product unique identifier, and this product will have a QR code. And this QR code can be, for example, with a scanning camera and the camera application, you can scan it and we go to the internet. We have a website where we have also a resolver. A resolver, it checks if your website is not working, your database is not working. It will go to the backup database, which is provided by a service provider, a certified service provider. And at the same time, we have a decentralized DPP data repository. So you will have to do a notification to the AU for your digital product passport. So we have a copy a decentralized DPP data repository. And then from here as the AU registry, that's going to have copy also for of the data is that can be accessible from the EU customs. They can at any time they have an from your notification they have a copy of all DPPs, and then they can just validate your products as customs, and they can block unallowed export or import. So, for example, they can, when you export a battery from its DBB, they can refuse export and consider it as a waste, not allowed to be exported, or they will not allow importing fake products or non-compliant products from the EU registry. Just something I wanted to correct myself about it. We do notification. You have here your data from the resolver. We have the backup, which all back will be from um, service provider, and that will be in a decentralized DBP repository. So that's for your service provider. Another notification will be with the EU registry that which has not been built yet, because you may ask, where is this? This has not been built yet. The DPP is expected to be available during the whole life of the product until it will be disposed. That's the expected time. So if you have a product, manufacture product, which is usually may stay for 100 years, you need to make your DPP for 100 years. Um, Data carriers, we need also to choose data carriers which are suitable. For example, you cannot use a metal as a data carrier for a textile clothes. That's not fair, because that's going to destroy washing machines of people. So you have to be smart and use something suitable for the type of device you are using. um, Legislative and technical framework, there are now community to make a final standard about how the unique identifier look like, but they agree on an example, it might include identifiers like global trade identification number, like GTIN, and we need the facility ID for your manufacturer or your factory. You need a very unique identifier for your product, and this uniqueness can be depends on the product. If it is a kind of a product that you don't expect a change in HB, so you can make a unique identifier for the whole model. But if it is a kind of a product that we like a medical device, you have many versions of it, and each change will matter, then you may need here a unique identifier for each individual product. So that's extremest level of traceability. So if you have a shirt, for example, and you are selling the same patch 1,000 times, maybe you want identifier for the batch. But if you have, for example, a medical device that's going to be maintained in a different way, then you will need here the uniqueness and identification for each device. Also, if you make a repair of a product, then you need to issue a new DPP after you have changed it. Updates, you cannot remove the past. You can make updates, but you cannot remove. So you make an update, but you cannot remove what happened, like a kind of version 1, 2, 3. You always, because you need to allow traceability. What has been there and what have you done? We need such level of traceability. That's following up what you have said. You have said about customized products. They need identification at each level. There will be a kind of API for to register a product in the central registry of the AU. I would like to explain how this resolver will work. Maybe here on our side. So you have a kind something called resolver, and if someone will scan your QR code, here we have QR code. So we land to a resolver. This resolver will go to the main website first. If it's not responding, then comes back the respond. Then it will go to the backup version of your products. There will be a template to validate if you are meeting the correct structure of DPP before you publish it to decrease the number of mistakes. Because as said, if you have a big number of DPP published and they are not correct, then that will highlight you as a potential non-compliant producer. Yeah, being non-compliant is not going to be easy in future. Like in the past, we have now digital product passport, we have AI. Being non-compliant will no longer be easy. And that's fair for European companies which are working very hard to be compliant to, and that is increasing their cost of production. Then they face very hard competition. But so DPP is going to bring market fairness to them. We need also to consider some aspects more for a DPP, like its durability to stay during the whole time of or life of the product, storage, durability. Let me give an example of a textile requirements for textiles. You shall make DPP which is resistant to water, heat, and pressure. You need to make it comfort that people will not be bothered from their clothes and they will not need to cut it. Like I said, also metals are not maybe not allowed for textiles, and it shall also facilitate reuse and recycling. You need integration with online market placement so people can decide about the product before they buy it. A scanning device is going to be maybe something like your normal mobile phone. It shall not be something super sophisticated, that something that all people can afford and use it. This device shall be just connected to internet. That shall be enough. Um, from GS1, they have that's a standard for GTIN. They have also an example of how to integrate GTIN. They give you a link, ready link that you get with their GTIN, so you can just put this link to your QR code. However, it is your um, task to use this link as a on your database where we can find the information. Yeah, that's I said this comment while speaking in general, that when you need to make it at item level or model or batch level, this traceability. So when we need individual serialization is not practical, we can make a model or batch level, but for products where really we need to customize each product, then here we need traceability at each product level. Array solver, we spoke about it, how it works. This information will be more of interest to your IT guy. That's more here about the other solution. We spoke about HTTP and DID. So for the blockchain, we need to link to something, have a DID identifier to a DID document, and which is saved in the blockchain, and we verify from data registry. So that's overview of when you use the ID system is going to be same architecture of HTTP, but just here we will have something called DID and not the normal internet and saving your information on web internet, but the ID system and save information in the blockchain. That's going deeper in the ID technology. Like safety and cybersecurity is an important matter to ensure that your system is robust against DOS attacks and so on. Yeah, thank you so much. And we have a good news for everyone who will watch this webinar. We are offering a free of charge trial to use our digital product passport system and to use it and get to know how to implement and apply digital product passport to your system. If you would like to use this trial and this chance, just drop us an email at info@complymarket.com. And thank you everyone so much. If you have any questions, you can ask us now or drop me or my colleague Robert an email. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye.